Good evening. It is with great honor that I welcome you to the virtual book release for Centering Our Voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. I am poet Dr. Gina Loring, author of the original piece written for this anthology entitled Let Class Begin. Like to hear? Here it go. When we are born, God breathes light into our lungs, some levity to lift us through the perils sure to come. To be Black and woman is to be a miracle just by claiming your space on this earth. Resilient long after they would have us down for the count, time and time again, we live to tell the story. All the ways they have tried to tie our hands, limit our learning, but in truth, we have always been the teachers. Shackled in ship underbellies, leading prayer songs, telling truths from somewhere holy. Wet nurse to baby after baby after baby, raising the children who will grow up to be our oppressors. We risked death to be literate. In each letter, the weight of the world. Must be some kind of magic in this alphabet. You so scared for us to crack the code by clandestine candlelight, cleaning, cooking, running entire households, then farming, cropping, harvesting. We, the agricultural scientists, kitchen chemists, sleep deprived but always get it done before the sun come back up. Talk about multitasking, project management, expansive skill sets, adaptability through maze after maze after maze of unwritten rules, ever moving finish lines, landmines every other mile, but your efforts futile. There is no law or action powerful enough to hold us, no matter how low or shameful your tactics. Not the 631 Black schoolhouses burnt to the ground during Reconstruction, not segregated schools in Jim Crow America, not standardized testing designed to resegregate, not the Stop Woke Act prohibiting accurate history, not the College Board's removal of cultural pedagogy, not affirmative action dismantled by the Supreme Court. What lengths you will go. But it only shows. Education is a portal to passageways. Unlocks the imaginary parameters you invented and believed in so long, it is as real to you as your own breath. We might pity you, but we are too busy writing books, researching dissertations, channeling our griot ancestors. We have always been professors, always been prophets and pioneers, poets and powerhouses. Let us show you there is light in libraries and lesson plans. Tomorrow is alive in the literature of today. Turn to page 2024. Take a seat. Let class begin. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Was that not absolutely amazing? And if you are not following Dr. Gina Loring, what are you waiting for? So, again, just good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us. I am Dr. Taryn Givan, the visionary and one of the authors of Centering Our Voices, the Brilliance, Persistence, and Significance of Black Women Educators. Listen, our virtual presence before you today is not by chance. I want you to know that it was set in motion during Women's History Month of 2023. That is the month that I defended my dissertation to meet the requirements of the Higher Educational Leadership Doctoral Program at the Clark Atlanta University. And in that dissertation, it centered the voices of 6 Black women educators in academia. And honestly, I knew that there was more to come. And in partnership with Sparkle Publishing, I no longer have to say what will be, because tonight our anthology is completed and ready to ignite the world.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Heather White. I'm the publishing director of Sparkle Publishing. I welcome you at this momentous occasion as we gather to celebrate the remarkable journey and achievement of 22 extraordinary authors. Today, Sparkle Publishing is thrilled to honor you in the release of the Centering Our Voices anthology, a historic legacy body of work that stands a testament to the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. As we release this anthology during Women's History Month, we are reminded of the significance of this moment. By sharing your stories, your insights, and strategies for success, this book seeks to inspire and empower both aspiring and established Black women educators across the world. It also fosters a broader understanding and appreciation of the vital role Black women play in shaping the future of education and society. So let me just say, on behalf of Dr. Kimberly Ellison and the Sparkle Publishing team, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for trusting us with your stories, your courage, and willingness to share your experiences will impact generations to come. You're not only authors, but you're change makers. You're leaders who are paving the way for a brighter future. So congratulations to you all. May the release of this anthology bring hope and inspiration for all who read it. So thank you for being a part of this historic legacy, and thank you for officially being a part of the Sparkle Publishing family. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Heather. It is with great joy. As you all can see today, y'all, I feel a little stiff because we are all here looking amazing and it feels formal. But I want to kick off by saying thank you. As the founder and owner of Sparkle Publishing, it is an honor to serve. It is an honor to share your stories with the world. So Heather and Dr. Givan, they have taken this project, this historical and legendary book project to another level. And so tonight, I just want to say thank you to the Sparkle Publishing team, to Heather as the publishing director, her leadership, and taking this anthology and moving it from paper to published. Again, if you all could put in the chat your experience with Heather. Those of you who are watching just know that it takes a lot to go into just one book. But when you take 22 profound voices and you are placing their stories in the earth, you know that there's about to be a shift. And in order to carry that torch, in order to carry that purpose and be a part of their destiny, it is going to take a lot of a woman leadership. And so, Heather, thank you for being a leader. Thank you for taking the vision. Taryn, Dr. Givan, if you will, thank you for trusting Sparkle Publishing with your vision. Thank you for allowing us to take what God has given you and take it to another level. So to the 22 women of Centering Our Voices on today, I just want to say you are stronger than your story. Your story gives strength to others, but you have travailed, you have cried, you have prayed, you have shifted, you have soared, but most importantly, you are stronger than your story. And that's all evident because of today we are here sharing our stories with others who are going to change the trajectory of their destiny because of the history you have come through. So on tonight, it is my honor again, and a privilege to be trusted with such an amazing journey with you all, but also entrusted with the visionary and with the leadership of Sparkle Publishing. Again, you won't hear from me anymore tonight. I am here to soak it all in and allow this amazing team and this amazing visionary to take over on tonight. So again, thank you. And again, for those of you who are watching, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kimberly Ellison. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, Sparkle Publishing. I am honored to move us along so that I can facilitate this virtual panel discussion, highlighting the voices of legacy, the 22 women of Centering Our Voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. So we are going to start out by shining the light on our K-12 teachers. All right, there we go. So we're going to start with Cassandra. If you could tell us, what role do you believe Black women teachers play in shaping the educational experiences and outcomes of Black students in our public schools? So be sure to introduce yourself, tell us how long you have been an educator, and then give us some insight to that question as a K-12 teacher.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cassandra Murphy. I am currently a fifth grade teacher, and I bring 17 years of experience to the field of education. To answer that question, Black women educators have the ability to reduce stereotypes against Black students and other students of color. We act as role models for our students who don't usually see Black teachers in classrooms, and we also advocate for our students from relatable experiences that we share with them. We set high expectations for Black students, ensuring that they know the importance of gaining a solid foundation in receiving an education. We are firm disciplinarians, and our students are eager to please us by working hard, and by being respectful and taking accountability for the choices that they make and meeting and exceeding academic goals. Black women educators are a resilient, hopeful, and consoling image for our students. We are mom, and since we are that, our children are our future, and we, as teachers of color, must be prepared to go above and beyond for them to succeed. We also need to give our all to each and every one of them. Every single day, we step into our role as Black women educators. With Black women educators being all of what I have mentioned, it is my prayer that we continue to impress upon students' hearts and hopes that they will take what they've seen, heard, and experienced with them as they journey through life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cassandra. Thank you, Stephanie. We are so grateful for the work that you do in our classrooms day in and day out. So we're going to move on so that you can hear the voices of our campus leaders. Today, to Taisha Jenkins, Dr. Afton Coleman, Dr. Rosalind Bell, Dr. Markiba Warfield, Dr. Colicia Williams, we see you and we honor you on today. So if you will, as you introduce yourself and tell us, how long you've been in education, give our viewers a little bit of, representation matters, and we know that, especially in leadership positions. So how do you believe that your presence as a Black woman, either assistant principal or principal, impacts the school community, particularly students of color? That is what we want to hear from you all. So Taisha, take us away.
Good evening, ladies. First, would like to thank, of course, our visionary and, of course, Sparkle Publishing for doing such an amazing job. And congratulations again to all of the authors in centering our voices. My name is Taisha Jenkins. This is my 22nd year in education. 20 years in the classroom and as a 504 specialist, and I am completing my second year as a middle school assistant principal. I believe that my presence as a Black woman administrator impacts Black students, students of color, by being just that familiar, relatable presence. I am like a mother, like an aunt, like a godmother that is going to get in their face with love, but be able to understand their language, for them to be able to understand mine and correct from a place of concern, of a place of respect, and just commanding that respect. I also feel my presence also allows me to collaborate with my colleagues that may not be African-American or people of color, to help them understand and relate some of the to some of the Black experiences. So as an administrator, I feel that my presence allows me to build trust, a partnership with parents that may not necessarily trust the educational system. So my presence helps impact by being available to them, to listen, to hear them, and to just truly be a champion for them in every way that I possibly can. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Afton, you are up. Come on in and give us your thoughts about this representation being a Black woman campus leader.
All right, just 1 second. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, good evening. I am Dr. Afton Coleman. I have about 17 years of experience in education with 10 years in the classroom, 4 years in district leadership, and 1 year as an assistant principal. And to be able to answer that question, I want to start with saying that as a Black woman assistant principal, my presence is not only impacting the school community that I'm in, particularly with students academically of their social and emotional learning. And I know that we as school leaders advocate for our students in regards to how we sharpen their skills in math and reading, but most important, mental health as well. And I make sure when I'm taking on these tasks that I'm ready to tackle, that I personally am well rested in this and mentally ready to get the job done, because I use these tools that are taught that are near and dear to me and the success of my students and my teachers as well. Growing up, I thought the world of my teachers and those who helped shape my educational career. My grandmother and uncle were the ones who meant everything to me, and they listened to me, and I used their words and their encouragement and advice to give me what I needed to steer me in the way that I planned to go. My grandmother didn't have a college degree, but my uncle did. And they were the ones who were the driving force in my life that gave me the courage to continue in school, because at times I made mistakes in what I was doing and different things of that nature. And I was reminded that if I continued to stay on the path of what they planted in me, I was able to push forward. So saying that, statistically, our Black students know that if we have an African American teacher by third grade, 7% of them are likely to graduate high school, and 13% more are likely to enroll in college. As a result of having at least 2 African American teachers, we know that the students will enroll in college probably about 32%. So that just shows that our presence not only has an impact for success for them, for ourselves as well. And when like students are called to our office or different things of that nature, we let them know that they have a voice. We're advocating for them to show them that we're on their side, that in this behavior, we're the ones who set the examples, that give the statistics and the parallels to know how we are culturally and academically present for them as well as ourselves. What does that mean to advocate for our students like that? We're the stakeholders who we observe our teachers in the same manner, communicating, coaching our teachers effectively when it comes to growing our teachers. In regards to that, I empower and co-power with my teachers to demonstrate the execution of efficient lessons and skills for student daily life. Student academic progress is realized in the ability of them taking ownership within their learning, because of the simple fact we let them know that they can do it by building sustainable relationships with our students as well. In conclusion, I understand that our scholars are very imperative to us, and we need to show up for them in the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. In reality, most cases when we do it by ourselves, we know that we're in this and we're the cheerleaders as well as the role models for them. I have my grandmother and my uncle who helped me with God's grace and mercy, who made sure that I'm here today. They were the ones the Black people that were my first advocates. Today, I'm proud to say that hundreds have been impacted positively since by having my educational career. And we need to continue to produce more people who can stand up for that to be game changers of color.
All right, good evening, viewers. Thank you all for being here. I am Dr. Rosalind Bell. I am a high school principal on a 9th grade campus. So yes, pray for me, please. I've been in education for approximately 20 years. 10 of those have been as an administrator. And as it relates to that question, representation truly matters. And I tell people all the time, I am them and they are me. I see myself in my students, especially the young ladies that I serve. And so I'm very intentional. When I walk in my building each and every day, I'm intentional about what I do, how I dress, the manner in which I greet my staff and my students, and most importantly, the relationships that I'm building on a daily basis. In an article that I wrote this month in today's Purpose Woman magazine, one of my quotes stated, "Education isn't about imparting knowledge. It's a dynamic process that shapes individuals, communities, and society." And what I know is we've been trusted with a great responsibility of educating and mentoring kids. And it's different from when we were growing up. So we have to be very, again, that word intentional about how we treat our kids. And we have to remember too that they are our future. And first, let me say, because I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea, I'm an advocate for all kids on my campus. However, I feel that it is my job and my responsibility, my duty to build students up, especially our Black females. They are struggling and they talk to me every day on a daily basis. They're struggling with, body image, self-esteem, relationships, being loved, acceptance, and beauty based on the way that society sees it. And so, as I like to say, the best part of my day, I tell my secretary all the time, is when I'm out in the building and I'm connecting and I'm on the floor, I'm in a chair and I'm, really connecting with my students. That's what we're here to do. So I stay in their ear, pointing out all of their positive attributes. And my job as a principal and as an educator is to make sure that I'm empowering them to know that if they believe it, they can achieve it.
Hi, I am Dr. Warfield, and I can attest to Dr. Bell because I work around the corner from her, and she does all those things. This is my 24th year in education. I serve as a high school principal, but I have also been at the elementary level, the middle school level, and again, I am currently at high school. So before I became a high school principal, I looked at other women, particularly African-American women, as role models. It was extremely encouraging and reassuring to see someone who looked like me in a role that I had aspired to be. And I sought those women out. I created my own little mentorship circle and I made them mentor me. Those conversations helped me to navigate my current role as a high school principal. They showed me the exact way to do it, taught me things, and so I was totally ready. So with that mindset is how I lead every day and hope that I represent well. I am compelled to pay each of my learned experiences forward to my students, to my staff, and honestly, anyone that will listen to me, I'll share that with you. But hopefully when my students see me, they can look at me and say, oh, I can do this too. I can be a principal. I can add doctor to my name. I can contribute to an anthology. I can overcome fear and present virtually with colleagues that I just met. I want them to know and believe that they can walk confidently in what God has for them because they see it being done. More so with my girls of color, but just girls in general, I want them to see that they can use their sass for good and not evil. I want them to be a fierce version of themselves. And so hopefully they see examples in me of how I choose to love on my peers and grow with and from them, even when we disagree. So with that representation as a campus leader, that is extremely important to me, particularly because our society only shares narratives that is in opposition of their viewpoint. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Williams.
All right, good evening. My name is Dr. Calicia Williams, and I have been in education for 18 years. And it's funny that I say that because I say 18 years is a long time for me, but for others that have been educators is not so long. I'm here in 20 and 30 years, but I truly believe that I have the best job in the world. And my role as a Black woman educator is to really defy stereotypes. That is my passion. I attended a predominantly white university, and that's where I first experienced the isms. That's what I call them: racism, classism. When I became an assistant principal, I was a very young assistant principal. I experienced ageism. It's like, who is this young kid telling me what to do? She does not know instruction, but I did. So, just showing our students that you don't have to be hindered by what other people think of you. That's important. I am a role model to my teachers. I'm a role model to my students. I lead with transparency, and I lead with the attitude that failure is not bad. Anytime that we fail, we learn something from that experience. And going back to the stereotypes, I am the fun principal. Our kids have stereotypes that we are supposed to be mean and just, I don't know, this person. I don't know who we're referring to, but I don't lead our students with a discipline board in my hand, but I do lead them with high expectations, and I lead with transparency and love. So for me, the representation starts before I enter the building. It starts with what I put on, right? To always dress professional. It starts with how I speak to them in the morning. Good morning, how are you? To establish that relationship and rapport. So I did read an article as well, and it stated that Black women are 25% more likely to leave the principalship. And that's disheartening for me because we are needed in that profession. Our students depend on us to be positive examples for them. Thank you.
I don't know about you all, but I hope that you understand why these ladies are, why they're here. Phenomenal. We're talking about Black women who are campus leaders, meaning that these are the individuals who our students have the opportunity to say, one day I can be the principal or the assistant principal of a school of my choice in a neighborhood to impact people who look like me, or even if it is not predominantly people of color, to be able to show up and be a representation, to show them what different voices and perspectives can bring to the table. And so I don't know how you're feeling out there tonight, YouTube, but we're going to keep this moving because there are more of the voices of legacy that you're going to hear from. So we've talked about our K-12 teachers, campus leaders, and now we're going to move over to our district leaders. I want to say a special thank you to Latrice Spires, to Kenya Cook, to Dr. Jocelyn McDonald. And so tonight, I ask you, as leaders overseeing instructional practices, how do you ensure that teaching approaches are culturally responsive and inclusive of the diverse experiences and backgrounds of students, particularly Black students? And we know that this is a very hot topic when we talk about culturally responsive teaching and learning, or diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, but we are not shying away or backing away from those conversations. Amen. So our district leaders, come on in this space and talk to us on this evening.
Hey y'all, my name is Latrice Spires. I have been in education for 19 long years, and I say long because it's been long for me. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining us. This has truly been an amazing journey. Coaching is a powerful tool that I leverage with my team. As a leader of instructional leaders, I have the privilege of working alongside them in the field. So I see what's happening in the classroom, and I'm having conversations with teachers, principals, and executive directors. But with my team specifically, that's the heart of my work. It lies right there with my team. So my style of coaching is I give feedback on the spot, and they appreciate that. I ask reflective questions while presuming positive intent. For example, how are you coaching your teachers toward building community in their classrooms? We know that our kids come with their own set of experiences, and how are we validating them? How are we coaching our teachers towards validating their individual experiences? Collectively, my team covers 18 campuses. Woo, I stay busy, yes. 18 campuses this school year. So with that being said, I'm in and out of campuses. So if I need to model something real quick and create community, just a sense of belonging, I like call and responses. Okay. Y'all know how we do in the churches and the Black churches. We love our call and responses. So one that I like that the children love, and I made this up, y'all. So when I say jump shot, you say Kobe, jump shot, Kobe, jump shot, Kobe. Then I invite the children in to create their own. Like, show us, tell us a little bit more about who you are. And that's one way that I quickly build community while I'm trying to model something either for the teacher or for my instructional specialist. Another question that I like to coach my team towards is, how are you coaching your teachers to provide equitable opportunities for all students? So this makes me think of the opportunity myth. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with it. Basically, high school students were graduating and they weren't prepared. So some research was conducted, and we were able to discover that our babies were not receiving the same access to resources as their counterparts. They were not even being given the opportunity to answer those rigorous content questions. Interesting. So my team is definitely dedicating to do everything within our locus of control to change that very narrative. Thank you so much for joining us.
And we are now going to hear from Dr. Jocelyn McDonald.
Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here. I'm Dr. Jocelyn McDonald, proud educator, forever learner, and digital leader. So I have a different, unique perspective, I guess, when it comes to bringing or discussing cultural responsive teaching by leveraging technology as well. But I've been in education for 18 plus years, served in many different roles in different districts as a district leader. And so I've had different experiences compared to the one I can currently speak to now. So I would say in previous districts that were a little more diverse, in the district I'm currently in, culturally responsive wasn't as afraid of a word, I guess, to be shared. And, I've moved now into a district where I am the only African-American, not just African-American, Black African-American in central office. And so it's a little bit different from my previous experiences, but I definitely want to say, representation has been the common theme, I think, from all the ladies who are on the call today, about showing up and representing. And I think with our district, there's always growth. But representation matters. And then just to enter the room and have a voice and having the diverse perspectives in the conversation helps to bring the different diverse needs and responses and perspectives to others' thoughts. And so it's been really amazing in that. But from my lens, I work in digital learning or instructional technology. And so we're supporting with implementation of that. And we also support in different STEM areas. And I think STEM is one of those places where we really want to see more representation of us in. And as you guys know, it's one of the fastest growing work markets, and have jobs that haven't been created that are out there. So it's important for representation to be there. So we're always promoting STEM within our team and creating opportunities for our students to be inspired. One of the examples is leveraging, because computer science is always big in STEM, and creating opportunities for the students to learn how to code, but with music that they listen to. And so it's not just coding your average everyday code.org, playing games, but trying to inspire our kids and bring something they listen to on a daily basis, something they can enjoy and sound like professional engineers, and bringing that in and creating opportunities like that. And not only that, being able to walk into a building. So in the school district I'm in, it doesn't have a large population of African Americans, but for that small percentage of African Americans and African American teachers who are there, I feel just my presence helps with being identified, being shown. I have so many teachers who would come up, even administrators, sometimes they don't say it in front of others, but they'll wait till I'm by myself and just say thank you. And just those small little moments, I think, I didn't realize how impactful it would be being in such an environment. But it definitely has brought, I think, more perspectives and more diverse conversations to the table than before. I know on my team, I see one of my team members on watching us live right now, and we are also, I think, comfortable in sharing our experiences. And I think a lot of times, if you aren't around other cultures, you may not be aware of what those experiences are. And so I think us sharing our experiences, our journeys, and I'm very open with my team about, being the only Black woman in the building sometimes and how that makes me feel, and just being really vulnerable sometimes and letting that guard down to bring those elements in the conversation, because it can also be a component to help think about our students when they're in the same spaces, and representation matters, and considering those things as well. So thank you guys for being on. I'm super excited about this launch, and so I can't wait to hear from the other ladies.
Excellent. Thank you both. We're going to keep moving forward with our district leaders, and we have two wonderful women coming up next. I want to say thank you to Sandra Chambers Collins and to Tamika Williams. So the question for you: parental involvement and partnership are critical for the success of students, not just in special education, but as your to connect to you as a Black woman educator. We're talking about students in education. So can you talk to us a little bit about how do you engage and empower Black parents and caregivers to advocate for their children and participate meaningfully in the special education process?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Sandy Chambers Collins. I've been in education for, 26 years. It's hard to believe. I had 10 years in the classroom, and then the past 16 years in administration, specifically special education, from being an associate director also to doing professional development. So one of the things that it's important is to work with the staff, or the special education staff, the school staff, for cultural responsive teaching. And it also goes down to like training. So talking to them and having conversations regarding factors that impact our Black families, their experiences in the education system. Sometimes we do hear conversations where, oh, they don't show up or they don't care. Sometimes they don't understand that they have been in the system for a while and their experiences as students has impacted them. And so therefore, now they're leery about the conversations that's surrounding them. A lot of times they'll walk into the building and there's a hush when they come in. And so that puts them in a kind of uncomfortable situation. So it's important and imperative that as educators, we share what it is like to be a Black student, also, or a parent of color, so that they understand how we can create those inclusive settings that are warm and inviting. Also, building trusting relationships, fostering relationships with our parents. As you know, in special education, parents are part of the process. We cannot have a meeting unless we inform the parents with ample time, making sure that they're part of the decision making. So we have to make sure that when they come to the meetings, that we thank them, we follow up with them, we're actively listening. We listen to what they have to say, because they are the experts in their children's lives. They know what their children need, and then they will partner with us so that we can come together to make the best informed decisions. It's also important to provide that clear communication, making sure that information is accessible for special education procedures, what is going to happen, what needs to take place, and do that in a variety of formats, whether it's a phone call, written communication, using multiple platforms, digital, and then making sure it's in the native language. So not all, we have to understand that we are not all like mono tone for Black parents. There are times when they have different languages and different ethnicities, and understanding the different backgrounds. Not everyone isn't from the United States. Not everyone is from, an African country or Haitian. So you need to make sure that you understand their cultural background so that you can then be able to work with them. And then it's also important to make sure that we're providing advocacy and training for parents. Having workshops in the community, not always at the school or the school district. It's important that we go into churches, we go into community centers, and making sure that we're bringing information to them in a place where they can feel comfortable. So if there's community fairs, show up, set up a table, and make sure they know that we are here, and then provide them the resources that they need, not just within the four walls of the building, but also making sure that that information carries out. Because once they leave us, once they get to 18, and for some students with disabilities, it's up till 21 until they age out, then parents need to know, what else do I do? So we need to then make sure that we're giving them resources within the community so their students can continue to grow and flourish within post-school outcomes. And then we need to be really intentional about addressing those systematic inequalities, making sure that we're listening to them when they tell us this is the way they feel. We do not pass it under the rug, but we listen. If we say we're going to do something, do it. If a parent calls you, we make sure that we call them back. Do what you say you're going to do so that we can build that trust once again, so that we can promote that parent-student school leadership, that parent-student school partnership. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tamika Williams, and I definitely wholeheartedly agree with everything that you mentioned, Ms. Sandy Chambers Collins. And one thing I will say, I've been in education for 23 years, and I've served in a variety of spaces, from teacher to now currently a special education director in my current district. And as an educator, I'm dedicated to equitable outcomes in special education. I fully recognize the critical importance of parental involvement and partnership, particularly for our Black students and their parents and caregivers. So I do approach this using a twofold way of doing this. And first, I have to say that I ensure that the evaluation process is fair. To avoid us having an overrepresentation of our Black and minority males, we try to ensure that we're providing them tests such as the WJ, which is the Woodcock-Johnson, the Wechsler, which is the WISC, and so that we can ensure that our students are being evaluated in a way that is fair for our minority students without cultural biases. These tools help us to avoid that overrepresentation, as I said. In addition to employing those assessments, I actively engage and empower Black parents and caregivers to advocate for their children. It is nothing wrong for a parent to ask a question in regards to the education of their child. We have to meet them where they are, provide them with a response, and we have to build up a trusting relationship with those parents, which is essential in that communication process. I try to make it a concerted effort to involve the parents from the outset, explaining the evaluation process, discussing their students' strengths, their challenges, and inviting them to share their perspectives and provide feedback regarding their child's education. We have to do those things to engage our families. But in addition to those things, I also like to acknowledge, as Ms. Collins said, acknowledge the cultural experiences and perspectives of our Black families. Because when we are evaluating those students, if they have not had certain experiences, or they do not understand from what perspective you are discussing things with them, their voices are not heard, nor are they respected throughout that process unless we educate them in response to that. And sometimes this does involve us sometimes asking questions, which is something that's maybe hard for some of us to do. Asking questions and seeking feedback and listening attentively for parents. Sometimes if they complete a after-art survey, which is an IEP that we're completing a meeting on, and they complete that survey, and they may give us some feedback that we really did not want to hear, but we have to take that feedback and use it to grow and actually mend that fence with that parent, build that relationship, and work collaboratively with those parents. Another thing is I like to directly engage my minority parents, as well as my Black families and caregivers and outside agencies. So if there's something that's taking place that we cannot help them with, support them with, whether it's even bill paying or anything like that, we have social workers employed within our department that we employ to go out and find wraparound resources for those families and connect them with whoever they would need, even if it is a disabilities right advocate. If that's who they need, then we want to make sure that we get those people involved with them as well. We work collaboratively with them in those areas as well. Another thing that we do is we have to build a network with all of the financial and budgetary crises that we're experiencing now. We have to build our network and utilize those networks in a positive manner. Yes, we want to use it to reach every student, and we also want to make sure that we're using that network to connect families to churches, agencies, resources, daycare centers, and all of those other things that may be available to them. I like to talk about one of the things that we did in our district was we partnered up with several different agencies and companies and things in our special education department to host our All Abilities Ability Games, which is a games that are rooted in adaptive physical education activities where we allow parents and families to come up, visit, watch those things. They're spectators at that time for that event, as well as like our special education sneaker ball prom, which is for our special education students. They have peer buddies who are general ed students who also peer up and work with them throughout the school year so that they're comfortable with them when they do attend the prom and the ability games with them. But one of my favorite is our Making Connections Fair, where we have parents, families, guardians, everyone come out to that Making Connections Fair. We connect them with resources, agencies, colleges, universities, even as far as connecting them with those outside agencies for childcare and things like that. Not childcare in that area, but adult childcare and day have centers and things. And so we do know that we have students who have those post-secondary transitions into those types of agencies. It's not always just that academic component, but it's also the behavioral and compliant component as well. And so we try to use that network. We're always trying to build on that network. We try to integrate those things into every collaborative effort that we do throughout our days in our program here in our district. And then we also try to make sure that we have a comprehensive support system that uplifts all students who are neurodivergent learners and ensure that their success is there. We want to work together with the families and build more equitable, inclusive, and educational landscapes that are for all children. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Now we're sitting heavy in this district leadership group. So we've got to keep it moving to the next set of ladies coming before you tonight. I want to say thank you to Rolanda McKenzie and to Ruby Janine Batiste. So to you, I have a question that I know that you are going to share some powerful insights tonight. Mentorship and professional development are essential for career development and retention. So how does your district support the growth and development of Black women educators and leaders? Come on in the space.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Dr. Gavon. I am Ruby Janine Batiste, and I currently work for a phenomenal school district that is in a large urban area, but our population is very diverse. We currently have 67 different languages represented in our district. And so one thing that we do in our district is we ensure that we are equipping our educators as well as our students and even our stakeholders like our board of trustees on best practices that help all students become successful generational learners and so forth. So what we do is we have several pipelines, and then one of our guiding principles in our district is truly collaboration. And so you'll see collaboration amongst there are many individuals in this book that are powerful women leaders in our district. So what we do is we share resources, whether it's just an encouraging word along the way for anything that's going on at the campus, like a peer mentoring group amongst teachers or paraprofessionals or students who are aspiring to be educators. Then we even go further, and again with our teachers, giving them opportunities to attend conferences and our and our administrators opportunities to attend conferences that are nationwide, not just in our area of Texas. Our superintendent is just very, very encouraging of women in leadership, and being intentional about creating that space that allows you to learn how to pivot this crucial landscape that we're in. Again, intentionality is what ingrains what's going on in our current district so our students can have the optimal student outcome. So professional learning opportunities are embedded even just through regular meetings. You'll see an alignment with what's happening in the state. And then we just are very intentional about incorporating it and leveraging those skills that to where our campus administrators can then do it at their campus and then find individuals to pour into that are aspiring to be the next level leader, whether that next level is just to be the best teacher for the student that I'm serving every day. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that all students, but especially marginalized groups, are getting what we call school dependent, above and beyond exceptional education opportunities in every aspect of what we do. And Rolanda, I will let you talk a little bit more if you want to share a little bit more about our students and our teachers and our paraprofessionals and what may be happening out at the campus level.
Well, good evening, and it has just been a joy listening to all of you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. My name is once again Rolanda McKenzie. This is my 26th year in education. I've taught for 6 years. I've been an assistant principal, instructional coach for 17 years, and I've had the pleasure the last 3 years to be an executive director of school leadership, where it is a pleasure to serve our wonderful principals. As I thought about the many questions that we were, I guess, charged to answer, and one of my favorite quotes, as all of you are very well known of Rita Pearson, was "Every child has a champion," and I'm not gonna, or needs a champion. And I'm not going to continue with the long quote, but when I think about that, I think also about mentorship. I've had the pleasure to have a champion mentor who is actually viewing on YouTube. I'm sorry, I was just, it just kind of brought a moment back, because there's something about in the value of when my first superintendent, Gloria Davis, took the time once a month to actually meet with me from 5 to 7, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it wasn't always just about the great things that were going on campus. It was truly about helping me to develop and grow as a Black woman in education, as well as what type of potential leader that I could become as I was embarking at that time with my first principalship. And so I think it is truly what we are charged to do as educators in itself. It's amazing to me at being at this level. You never forget that you, at the heart of you, you are a teacher. And you're working along teachers. I know I've heard several of you talk about working along teachers, coaching principals, coaching teachers, but those teachers see you to as an inspiration. They aspire to be you. You know, we have teachers who aspire to be assistant principals, principals aspire to be central office staff. And I like the way, Dr. Warfare, when you said, I sought them out. So we either seek out, others because we want to be like them, and we aspire to want to be part of that role. And there's a goal or something within us that I can do that job. Or someone naturally sees the leadership in you and just grab hold of you and take you underneath their wing, and then they begin to mentor you. And so one of the things that Ruby talked about is the importance that in any organization that we're intentional about building that type of culture to really help people, and not just people, but women, and women of all, because in our district, we are very diverse, but it takes all of us to actually do the work that we need to do for children as well as our educators. So I just want to say thank you for, even when I see some of my colleagues that I work with, thank you for the mentorship, the positive things that you said and to me as I've come along and been a part of the district. And I have the pleasure and to have Ruby Baptiste also as my, I would say, my mentor, as well as she is my director and my boss. And one of the things that she does and she continues to do, that Gloria J. Davis, is she continues to pour into each and every one of us and as individuals. And so thank you for giving me what I need, inspiring me to push forward to actually complete a goal and a dream. And that's why I am here today. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Rolanda and Dr. Gavon. I apologize to the group and the viewers. Just quickly, I have 34 years of experience in education. I've been, this is entering year, closing out year number 28 professionally, but I started as a paraprofessional my senior year in high school when I was 17 years old. And so when I say to all the women and everyone who's viewing, mentorship is essential. You know, education is something that all of us on this call, we love. You know, we love it. We know the importance of it. And so we have a charge to not just pour into our children that we serve and their families, but we need to pour into those that we lead with, those that we serve with, because it is a profession that is about building people. And there are those who are ready to just walk away from such a beautiful career. And we, again, just thank you for the opportunity.
You are more than welcome. And yes, you have to come on in here and let them know those credentials, because we are showing up tonight authentically who we are, and to let them know that we are not new to this, right? Dr. Kimberly Ellison, we're not new to this. We are definitely true to this. So we're going to move on to our last district leader. And I will say this, it gives me just such pride to be able to introduce you ladies and to think about, as a student, I may have had a few Black women who were in the classroom. I didn't see any that were in leadership positions as assistant principals and principals until I got to high school and saw Mrs. Alma Gray as an assistant principal. And then you think about on the district level, as a student growing up, I'm thinking, did I have any Black women that were in the district office? I don't know. But now we're coming to a superintendent of a school district. And I know I didn't see that. I don't know about you all, but that is not common. And so we want to make space this evening for Dr. Tiffany Brunson. So to you, how do you navigate the intersections of race, gender, and other identities as a superintendent, particularly in shaping educational policies and practices?
All right, good evening, ladies. I'm so excited to be here. You all have been amazing. So, well, first of all, I want to say I'm coming to you from the great state of Illinois, and I'm completing year 29. I was 13 years as an 6 years as elementary, 7 years as a high school teacher, and I taught diverse learners. And then I was a assistant principal, chief DEI officer of a large district in Illinois, and now proudly serving as a superintendent. Thank you for that question. Before I get really into that question, I want to bring this to the room. There are 14,000 superintendents in America. 3% are African American. Even less are African American women. So it is a seat that they do not expect us to sit in. they oftentimes do not allow us to sit at. So oftentimes I have found myself just leaning on the edge of the table. If there's no seat, I'm going to get in the door and I'm just going to lean. I'm going to find a place to lean. The most important thing about this job, as you think about intersectionality, and that is rooted in all of the feminist work of Kimberly Crenshaw, which if you haven't read any of it, it's really amazing. Is to think about which part of you, as we say we want to show up as our authentic selves, which part of you, of your authentic selves, do you peel off and bring into the room with you? Because there's so many different rooms when you are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, which is what a school district is. But there are so many socio-political landmines to navigate. It is such a difficult job. It is one of the most influential jobs in education, but it is such a difficult job because as all of my, who I am as a Black woman who was a young Black, girl growing up on the South Side of Chicago, I have never not been that young girl. So then when you're in the rooms, it's hard to just only see and advocate for yourselves or the little yous, but really understanding that schools were not created for us to be successful. And so there are so many barriers that you have to navigate, and really thinking about the learning conditions and then the organizational conditions. I listened to all of the things that you all have said, and in order for all of these things to occur and all of you all to be successful, there has to be someone that says we believe in that, and that's what our district stands for. And so being the CEO, if you will, the superintendent, I have to be very clear about what I believe in and what I'm willing to fight for and what I'm not willing to compromise on. And so that is so difficult because like I said, the socio-political landmines, they're there every which way. And you have to be very careful because when you get into these positions, the influence that you have can corrupt you, or it can be the most rewarding thing and the most purposeful thing and meaningful thing you'll ever do in your life. And so really what I want to leave everyone with is, remember, there are 14,000 superintendents. 3% are African American, and it's almost statistically insignificant how many are African American women. That's statistically insignificant, but I want everybody to remember how significant that you are in this job. And I'm hoping that many of you all sitting on this call and people who are watching, I want to demystify the job because it is oftentimes not seen as something that is attainable for you. You have to go for it. And even if you fall, get back up, because you deserve to be at the table. And they don't want you at the table, but when you get there, understand that it is one of the most influential jobs in pre-K to 12th grade education. And understand, when I have young girls, and I'll wrap up, and I'm walking down the hallway, to your point, and they see me, the excitement that they have just to see just my existence. And let me tell you, I fight every single day for the students that are furthest from success. And the reason why they are furthest from success is because we have created these barriers. Schools should be successful for everyone. There should be a great school across the street and on every corner in every community. People and families shouldn't have to drive 20 miles, a half hour, an hour just for their children to have a quality education. So it is really important that we remember each of you can sit in this seat. It is so important because you were talking about influence. It is, some days it's scary and it's a very isolating job, but you have to remember, you have the greatest influence in this seat over all of these thousands and thousands of children's lives, for real. And I'm so proud to be able to share my story and to be part of this. And I'm looking forward to seeing it grow and grow and grow. And remember that this seat, I sit in this seat for all of us. And the little girl that I was who didn't see me and didn't even know what did the superintendent do. And I'm just proud to be on this call and just being part of who you all are. It's amazing. So thank you so much for my time, because I can talk forever. I got lots of stories, I promise you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of our P12 or K12, depending on what you are used to saying. I want to thank all of our Black women educators within that sector. So we're going to move on, because I know that we have people who are tuned in and they're like, well, wait a minute, where's Dr. Valerie Bennett? Where's Dr. Brenda Stewart Howe? I logged in to see these ladies. You better bring on these higher education professors. And here they are. And one of the things that I want to say before you hear their voices, because it's important to me to center all of your voices. One thing that I want to say, how this is very important, is we have to realize that not all of our children, our marginalized students, our students of color, are going to grace a campus of a historically Black college and university. And I know that that's important to us for that to happen, but that is not going to be the reality for all of our students. And so to have Black women in academia, regardless of where they have chosen to be a professor or to be on the faculty and to do what they do, it is important for us to see you in all of those spaces. So kudos to you all for being with us. And so the question before you is, representation in academia remains a challenge, especially for Black women. How do you navigate and address issues of representation and diversity within your field and institution?
Hello and good evening. Thank you, Dr. Gavon. It's such an honor to be in this place and space, my fellow CAU alum. So I love this question because as an assistant professor and also as a leader in our School of Education, I like to say I teach STEM teachers how to teach STEM. And in that journey as an engineer educator, I've seen a lot, related to this whole issue of diversity and how do you deal with it. And I think as I reflect on that, one of the things that's really important, there are like internal and external issues that really drive how this works, right? And one is that we all have to make our calling sure. Is your calling where it needs to be? Are you walking in your calling? And so some of those issues related to the barriers, Dr. Bronson talked about those barriers. Are you walking in your purpose? And you would be surprised, right? What happens when you have that certainty, when you have that assurance that I am walking in what I've been called to do. So that's one thing I will say. The second thing is that there have been times when it does get tough, when you're the only one. You walk in the room, you're like, okay, where's another Valerie? Where's another Dr. Bronson, right? We don't see ourselves. Well, it's extremely important that we don't walk away when it gets tough, because there will be, I love the title of this book, Centering Our Voice, because we have been in those places. We all have been in those places where our voices have been silenced, where we can say the same thing in a meeting and someone else says it and they're like, wow, that's a great idea. Well, I just said it 5 minutes ago, right? So we've all been in those situations, but we have to have that assurance that we are confident, that we have the skills. It's so important to recognize we have those skills. And I didn't mention that I have been in the, I've been trained as an engineer, but I've also been in the education space for close to 25 years. So I've seen a lot in both in the higher ed and the P12 space. So it's exciting to see, all of these voices come together in that sense. So that diversity issue. And you were bringing out some stats, Dr. Bronson, and I tell you that's my lane as well, because these numbers about STEM graduates it is about 12%. 12% of our graduates are African American in the STEM areas. That's something that keeps me up at night. Another number that keeps me up at night is that Black African American engineers is less than 10%. It's somewhere around 7%. That's another reason that keeps me up at night, because I'm thinking about strategies, things that we can do to change the trajectory and to take away the barriers. So the internal, the external is because now I'm a forest clearer. You know, I'm going to clear the pathway for someone else to make it a little bit better for them as they are looking to make their place in space as an African American in the STEM area. So just want to share that, and thank you so much for this time.
So I would just like to say thank you so much to my beautiful soror, Dr. Taryn Gavan, to the Sparkle Publishing team, and just to my COV sisters, and also to all of the viewers that we have on tonight. Hey, my name is Dr. Brenda J. Stewart Howell. I am a proud occupational therapist, and I have been an adjunct college professor for going on 12 years in the occupational therapy assistant program. And when I was asked this question about issues that address representation and diversity, actually what came to mind were three P's, and I want to share them with you on tonight. And those three P's are: one must be present, one must be patient, and one must be persistent. And what I mean by being present is not only being present locally in the classroom, but also being at the table when regional and national changes are being made. When we think about representation and diversity, changes of this magnitude actually happen on the higher levels, and then they trickle their way down locally. So just last week, my my program director and I, we had the opportunity to attend the National Occupational Therapy Conference in Orlando, Florida. And at that conference, there were so many courses that were structured around diversity. They even had designated areas for nursing moms. They had sacred and secluded areas for those in the Islamic faith to perform their prayers. And, you know, I just was taken aback. About 10 years ago, when I was attending the same conference, there wasn't as much thought given to the diversity and the sensitivity surrounding diversity and being culturally inclusive. And I know that if it wasn't for those diverse caucuses, such as the National Black Occupational Therapy Caucus, at those national and regional levels, if it wasn't for their present, then these changes would have occurred. So it is very important for us all to be present, both all nationally, on the local and regional levels, in order for that change to occur from the top and then trickle its way down to the bottom. And then my second point, being patient. Many times we assume that other cultures just automatically understand who we are as a Black population. But we need to extend grace and also give patience and time for those who are open-hearted to get to know us for not who they think we are, but who we are as a people, who we truly are as a people. And there was a study conducted in the 1940s, Brown versus Board, and it shared the significance of the doll test. And most of my educators, I know you guys know about this study, but for those who are unfamiliar, basically what occurred is with children, both Black and white children were involved in this study. They were given a doll. One doll was Black and one doll was white. And the results of this study concluded that the children in general saw the Black doll as being bad and ugly, and they saw the white doll as being good and pretty. So as a culture, we have to allow time and patience to change these embedded stereotypes. And then lastly, I'll conclude with persistence. I found that one way I have navigated the issue of representation and diversity within my field and institution is being persistent. As we all know, change does not happen overnight. And the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So, with that being said, there are institutions such as the one that I am employed by that are ready for that change, and they are trying their best to be more culturally inclusive and more diverse. And we are the ones that are carrying that torch. We are the ones that can make a difference. So, for those of you who are my CLV sisters, those of you who are not in this particular anthology but want to make a difference on your campus or your institution, my recommendation to you is to go out, be who God created you to be present, be patient, and be persistent. Thank you.
Thank you both so very much. This is just wonderful. Viewers, we have not forgotten about our educational consultants. I know you are waiting, and here they come. So I want to say thank you to Dr. LaJuan Hines-Rome, to Dr. Reba Clark-Wedderburn, and to Ariane McWinney, who is here with us tonight. And so here's the question for our educational consultants. And I'll be very honest with you, even as an educational consultant myself, this is not an area that many people talk to you about. When we talk about mentorship and we talk about being able to, I'm going to use matriculation. I know that's more about, the education going from one level to the other, but even moving into different positions. Who talked to us about being an educational consultant and being in these spaces where you're grabbing these contracts and here you are in these different companies and these different organizations and you're leading the professional development and it's your face and it's your voice that they hear. But here we are and we have some women for you. So the question is, in what ways have you used your platform as an entrepreneur to center the voices and experiences of Black women in education? I'm going to turn it over to Dr. LaJuan Hines-Rome.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. LaJuan Hines-Rome, as my soror, Dr. Karen, has mentioned. Hey, sorors. I am here with over 30 years of experience in the education arena. I started with my master's in special education, and that's what I worked in for my time frame in different roles in the District of Norfolk, Virginia. And then I went into working and serving as an adjunct professor at the community level. Today, I serve as an educational consultant. And yes, I had no idea what it was. I didn't know anything about consulting or consulting as an educator when I was younger. So how I have turned my platform from education into entrepreneur is that I've leveraged the centering the voices and experiences of me as a Black woman in education through several key initiatives. And one of my main and most passionate initiatives is founding my nonprofit organization, She Matters Girls Incorporated. We call it affectionately SMG Inc. This nonprofit organization works with girls and young women ages 6 to 22, and it focuses on a lot of what my COV sisters, Dr. Rosalind and Dr. Makiba mentioned. When you're looking at young girls in the school system and working, and those young ladies who have, they don't have body positivity, and there are a lot of other things that are going on in their lives that they can't focus on school, then being a part of what She Matters Girls Incorporated helps them to develop and understand their worth, help them to recognize their strength and their confidence to be able to focus and concentrate on what they need to do for school so that they can remain in school, they can graduate in school. So we do a lot of things in working with our young ladies and creating academies within the school system. We also offer conferences and trainings and workshops. And that's how I developed and worked with my educational consulting, by just doing things from my nonprofit, which we've had up and running for 13 years now. We look at all of the young ladies who come within my organization, and we call them our daughters. We also call them our young leaders. We treat them just like they're our kids. The same way I did with my students, I looked at them and I talked to them and I worked with them just as they were my babies. Within the SMG Inc. organization, we created platforms for Black women to share their experiences and their talents, their perspectives and expertise with our young leaders. So when we had our conferences or when we had our mother-daughter chats, we invited in other women. Sometimes we even had brothers, our men, come in and talk to our young ladies about what it was that, whatever the topic was about. We're creating and implementing workshops, those group sessions and those training things so that we can help address those specific needs and challenges that our young women face. And even sometimes that are some of those challenges that our Black educators, Black women educators face within their arenas. They are pivotal to what we have to offer to our daughters. And also in advocating for social justice and equality in education, my professional roles and engagements are to amplify the voices of Black women in discussions that surrounded in educational approaches and reform. And lastly, I strive to create spaces where individual contributions are celebrated and most importantly recognized. I wish always to inspire future generations of Black women to pursue excellence in all that they do. I aspire to promote diversity and inclusion in all my initiatives and highlight the effectiveness of the representation in education, in the classroom, in the boardrooms, in the pulpits, international stages, everywhere. It is so very important that we are there and that they see us and that they hear us, especially our young ladies. They are thirsty. They need us to drink in, to pour into them so that they can pour out what they need to have when that time comes for them to do so. Thank you so very much.
All right, Ms. McWhinney, come on in the space. We're ready for you.
Hi, good evening. I am so happy to be here. My name is Arain McWhinney. I am a speech language pathologist. And when you see me, you see less than 3% of the workforce in our field. So being here on this platform with all of these wonderful educators is like my wildest dreams coming true right now. So I'm just super excited. But one thing that I use my platform for is I bring experience from early education on through higher education. And with that, I use my platform to inspire and educate. By representing less than 3%, when people see me, they see their wildest dreams too. And so what I do is I help learners and scholars at all levels focus on their vision and utilize their gifts and their voice to achieve their goals. I show and teach individuals how to communicate effectively in all settings to reach their goals by equipping them with the tools and strategies that they need. Through my obedience and dedication to education, and by using the gifts that were given to me, the minds of learners, scholars, adults, and children can be open to limitless possibilities. I also use my platform to help others establish a firm foundation and also create a springboard for them to move forward and succeed in all areas of their life. I didn't know that my voice would be heard by so many people when I was learning this field. So to know that others look to me for guidance and that establishments bring me in to train and educate and consult, I feel like I'm touching an audience that I never even knew existed. So just to be here again is super exciting for me. It's wonderful to hear everybody's testimonies. And I'm also excited for those who reach out to me and to see where they go after. So that is why I am helping by centering the voices of education and educators.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. And we're going to move into, she's going to bring up the rear. Definitely not, she's last, but not least. We are going to go into a space that is a little bit different, kind of non-traditional when you think about an educator being in that corporate space. And I really love that she's going to have the opportunity to really center her voice tonight. And so we're bringing on Verdale Osborne. Thank you for being here. Your question is, what are some of the key opportunities for Black women educators in settings that are not traditionally aligned to P-12, K-12, or higher education spaces?
Thank you, Dr. Gavan. Again, my name is Verdale Osborne. I have a master's in leadership development, and I've been in the adult education space for over 20 years. I work for a large healthcare insurance company. And the first thing I really want to say is just hats off to the many educators and the sacrifices that we all make in these spaces. We are definitely needed. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention many of us are carrying healthcare crisis into the classroom, into the boardroom. We're managing our own healthcare crisis. Many times we forget, they tell us that we're leading in diabetes, high blood pressure, all of these things, and stress-related illnesses. All of this work comes with pressure. It comes with stress. So I had to mention that, and I had to say the sacrifices that we make just go, we just cannot just forget that. So the one thing I also want to mention is after we prepare our students, they go to college, we pray them through. We're so excited that they finally graduated. We have to create spaces for them in workplaces where they can show up, be supported, have the mentorship that they need, the sponsorship, and most importantly, the allyship. We have students, we have a program where I work that supports students their very first role out of college. And that is so important because sometimes students, they're afraid. They show up to their very first job not knowing how to show up. So they end up leaving that role and going to do, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I paid all of this money. We have to pay back all of the stress, those stress-related illnesses show up because now we have to pay for that wonderful education. So we have to be prepared to create those workplaces that support our students after they get out of college. We also have to share with them the importance of getting an internship and sharing their voice when they work, when they show up after college, sharing who they are, being comfortable in those spaces to talk about their skill set. Because many times, our counterparts get the role because they know how to show up and they know how to share their experiences and their education. So I just want to say I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm excited to be alongside all of these professional women who show up day in and day out and sacrifice. I just want to hats off, clapping, cheering you on. And I'm thankful to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Gavan.
You are more than welcome, and we are so happy to have you as our sister in the Voices of Legacy. So listen, we have come to the end of this virtual release event, but it is not the end of you hearing and seeing, centering our voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. What I will tell you is that we are excited to center our voice so that your voice can also be centered. We are excited to be able to bring forth vulnerability, to say that it's okay for us to talk about those instances within our careers that maybe didn't go the path that we thought that it would go, but we ended up and we landed exactly where we were supposed to be so that you could see us and witness us tonight. You may be thinking, well, I thought I would hear a little bit more about what they wrote about in their chapter. Well, if we give it all away tonight, I can't push you to go on over there to www.sparklepublishing.net, centering our voices and purchase the book. So what we gave you tonight is that little, we dangled the carrot, we teased you a little bit, and we're hoping that that leaves you wanting more. We want you to follow Sparkle Publishing. We want you to follow their website because it is going to be a space where you find out what's coming next with the Voices of Legacy, the 22 women who make up this amazing anthology. We also want to give you an opportunity right now, just in case you missed it at the beginning of the live. We were fortunate enough to have poet and activist and vocalist Dr. Loring to write an authentic original poem for our anthology. So when you talk about being unique and blazing trails, that's what you get. This is who we are. But we say that in the greatest, humble spirit that we have, but it's okay as Black women to be able to say, yeah, I'm here. And yes, I did that. And yes, it may have been tough, but I'm here. And I want to empower other people to come with that same confidence and to know that your competence is what people need to see, because that may not be the narrative that you've heard. So again, we're not new to this. We are true to this. So we're going to leave you with the video in the chat. YouTubers, in the chat, you have the link to go out to Sparkle Publishing, and you have the opportunity tonight to go ahead and get your pre-orders. If you're wanting to get those personalized autograph books, then go ahead, share with people in your network, and you will be seeing and hearing from us soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and let's hear this powerful poem one more time before we take it out on tonight.
Good evening. It is with great honor that I welcome you to the virtual book release for Centering Our Voices, the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women educators. I am poet Dr. Gina Loring, author of the original piece written for this anthology entitled Let Class Begin. Like to hear? Here we go. When we are born, God breathes light into our lungs, some levity to lift us through the perils sure to come. To be Black and woman is to be a miracle just by claiming your space on this earth. Resilient long after they would have us down for the count, time and time again, we live to tell the story. All the ways they have tried to tie our hands, limit our learning, but in truth, we have always been the teachers. Shackled in ship underbellies, leading prayer songs, telling truths from somewhere holy. Wet nurse to baby after baby after baby, raising the children who will grow up to be our oppressors. We risked death to be literate. In each letter, the weight of the world. Must be some kind of magic in this alphabet, you so scared for us to crack the code by clandestine candlelight, cleaning, cooking, running entire households, then farming, cropping, harvesting. We, the agricultural scientists, kitchen chemists, sleep deprived but always get it done before the sun come back up. Talk about multitasking, project management, expansive skill sets, adaptability through maze after maze after maze of unwritten rules, ever-moving finish lines, landmines every other mile, but your efforts futile. There is no law or action powerful enough to hold us, no matter how low or shameful your tactics. Not the 631 Black schoolhouses burnt to the ground during Reconstruction, not segregated schools in Jim Crow America, not standardized testing designed to resegregate, not the Stop Woke Act prohibiting accurate history, not the College Board's removal of cultural pedagogy, not affirmative action dismantled by the Supreme Court. What lengths you will go. But it only shows. Education is a portal to passageways. Unlocks the imaginary parameters you invented and believed in so long, it is as real to you as your own breath. We might pity you. But we are too busy writing books, researching dissertations, channeling our griot ancestors. We have always been professors, always been prophets and pioneers, poets and powerhouses. Let us show you there is light in libraries and lesson plans. Tomorrow is alive in the literature of today. Turn to page 2024. Take a seat. Let class begin. Thank you.